The Leprechaun's Curse. Jessica and her dad, John, were hiking deep in the woods near their cabin, the sun hanging low on the horizon, casting long shadows through the trees. It was a quiet afternoon, the kind where you could hear the faintest rustle of leaves underfoot and the soft whisper of the wind through the branches. They loved these walks, finding peace in nature. But today something felt off. As they rounded a bend in the trail, Jessica spotted something glimmering just off the path. "Dad, look!" she called out, her eyes widening. In a small, mossy clearing stood a large, ancient oak tree with roots gnarled like fingers clutching the earth. At the base of the tree was a small mound of dirt that had recently been disturbed. Peeking out from the soil was a shiny golden coin. John knelt down, brushing away the dirt, and revealed a whole pile of gold coins. His eyes lit up. "Jess, we've struck it rich," he exclaimed, his voice tinged with excitement. Jessica smiled, but she couldn't shake a strange feeling that gripped her chest like they were being watched. She glanced around nervously. "Dad, maybe we shouldn't take it. What if it belongs to someone?" John chuckled. "Who could this possibly belong to out here? It's been buried for who knows how long." But as they filled their pockets with gold, the air grew colder, and the woods around them grew unnaturally still. The wind that had once gently whispered now hissed, carrying a low, malevolent laugh. A voice, high-pitched and filled with malice, echoed through the trees. "You've taken what's mine, foolish mortals." Jessica's heart skipped a beat, and John's face paled. "Who's there?" John called, scanning the darkening woods. From behind the twisted oak, a figure stepped out. He was no taller than a child, but his appearance was anything but innocent. His skin was a sickly shade of green. His eyes glowed red like burning coals, and his sharp teeth were bared in a twisted grin. He wore a tattered green coat and a crooked hat that barely hid his stringy black hair. It was a leprechaun, an evil one. "Return my gold," he growled, his voice dripping with venom, "or pay with your lives." John stood protectively in front of Jessica. "We don't want any trouble. We'll leave the gold and be on our way." But the leprechaun shook his head, cackling. "Too late. You've touched it. Now the curse is upon you." Suddenly the ground beneath them began to tremble, and thick black vines shot up from the earth, wrapping around John's legs, pulling him down. Jessica screamed, trying to pull him free, but the vines were too strong. The leprechaun's eyes gleamed with wicked delight as he stepped closer. "Say goodbye to your father, girl." Jessica scrambled for something to fight with and grabbed a thick branch, swinging it wildly at the leprechaun. But the creature was too fast, darting out of the way with inhuman speed. "You think you can fight me?" he shrieked, lunging at her. Just as his clawed hands were about to reach Jessica, John roared in anger, breaking free from the vines with a burst of strength. He grabbed a nearby rock and, with all his might, hurled it at the leprechaun's head. The creature let out a blood-curdling scream as the rock struck him, knocking him to the ground. But the leprechaun wasn't done yet. He snarled, his body twisting and contorting as he stood back up, eyes burning with fury. "I'll rip you apart for that," he hissed. John didn't hesitate. He grabbed a fallen tree branch and swung it hard, knocking the leprechaun off his feet. The creature thrashed, but John was relentless, bringing the branch down again and again until the leprechaun lay still, his body slowly disintegrating into a pile of black ash. Breathing heavily, John dropped the branch and pulled Jessica into a tight hug. "It's over," he whispered, though his voice trembled slightly. "It's finally over." They backed away from the mound of gold, their pockets emptied, leaving the cursed treasure behind. As they hurried away, Jessica glanced back one last time, watching the ash scatter in the wind. But deep in the woods, far beneath the roots of the ancient oak, something stirred. The gold was never meant to be taken. and a leprechaun's curse never truly dies.